If brothers are sharing that they got in an argument with their wife or wives and she did this to me and I can't believe she don't do that and she can't cook like you do. I mean, all that stuff, that's his fault. Because a lot of women will take that information and go, she yelled at him, she hit him, she disagreed with him, she got in his face. But you're giving the information. Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah, once again from Outstanding Personal Relationships and co-author of Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. For those of you that are new, like I always say in all my videos, I'm the initial wife to Coach Nazir, and shout out to Coach Nyla, my beautiful, most amazing co-wife. And if she wasn't, I wouldn't say she was. She's awesome. I wouldn't say nothing, which is saying, there's so much maturity that you need to have, you know, in being in polygyny. It's no joke. It's just like any other marriage, a different form though. You got to be mature and practice a lot of patience in marriage and especially in marriage and polygyny. Now, let's get on to the subject matter of this video. Being as though I am not, nor is anyone on the OPR team, afraid to kind of go there. I got to go there with this video. And this particular one that I wanted to address, that I've been asked to kind of speak about many times, is the reason that you may not like your co-wife. Could it be your husband's fault? Now that's a deep, loaded question, but I'm going to be super honest, and it can be his fault. And I'm saying that only in instances of the subject matter of oversharing information. Now, let's get some housekeeping done here about oversharing. Oversharing is not you had a child with your co-wife. With your co-wife. You don't have no child with your co-wife. The co-wife going to have a child with the husband. Sometimes the brothers would just burst through the door and proclaim and pronounce without any self-awareness that his other wife or wives are pregnant and expecting. Although he may want to shout that from the rooftop, is that something smart to kind of do? Depending on the climate of your current marriage or marriages, you have to be careful. As the man that's married to multiple women, you got to be really careful about how you word things, about how excited you are for things at certain times in your polygynous journey. You just have to, because a lot of women don't want to hear that you had a wife, and then you have a child on the way, because then people start to think about what people have to do to create a child. So it's not the child's fault. Nobody's blaming the child nor the mother. It's just the excitement that some men might come into the room with and just be a little too excited. Now, with that being said, though, we have to understand that there may come a time where the husband has to say or let his wives know that he's expecting a child. You know, it's not oh, look at what we did. It's not, you know, that's not the moment that everyone is anticipating. It's just the information so that someone else doesn't have to tell you that your husband is expecting a child with the subsequent wife or wives, or the initial wife for that matter. Now, if you're not willing to hear the information from him, you're going to get it from somebody else. I mean, there's just some things you're going to give up something, you're going to gain something, you're going to give something up. You know, sometimes that's your inner peace. If you don't allow people to share information with you, that's not their fault. If you shut it down and said, I don't want to know nothing about your life with her, and then somebody else tells you, you signed up for that class, I hate to say it, and people will tell you because they'll assume you know because you're married to them. It's not even coming from an evil place. They just go, oh, I thought you knew, type of energy. So there's some give and take with that. It's just life. That's how it is. That's how it is. Now, if brothers are sharing that they got in an argument with their wife or wives and she did this to me and I can't believe she don't do that and she can't cook like you do. I mean, all that stuff, that's his fault. Because a lot of women will take that information and go, she yelled at him, she hit him, she disagreed with him, she got in his face. But you're giving the information. Because women are protectors. We want to protect too. We don't protect the same as men do. But we want to nurture, we want to protect you. We want to protect our kids, we want to protect our environment. And sometimes when you say these things, if you're saying these things, I hope you're not. But if the brothers are saying these things or the husbands are saying these things, they don't know that might place fear in the heart of their wives and instability. Not fear that, oh, what if she hurts me? Maybe that is, maybe it isn't. But fear that you married somebody that's not mentally stable. And is she going to come around me with that energy? Because if she comes around me with that energy, we're going to have a problem. And then I'm leaving. I mean, it just translates different. So venting and sharing what is going on in one house versus the other is not the man's job. Now, if there's illness, of course, he's supposed to say that. For example, our family. If someone's sick, if someone has a fever, one of our bonus babies, we share it because it may affect what's going on in the other house, not in the other family, because for us, it's in one big family. And maybe you don't feel that yet. Maybe you're not there yet, and that's okay that you're not, but that doesn't mean you'll never be, We share the information so that everybody's safe. If there's a trip that, my co-wife and our husband are going on and she'll kind of know and then I'll know, because then we'll know he's not in town. Or if he's leaving, he'll let us both know he's leaving for business or he has something to do or he's going to a funeral, whatever the case may be. Then those things are shared and known among everyone. But she doesn't cook as good as you. She made me mad. I'm not talking to her for 3 days, or, I want to have a child and she doesn't, maybe we can have careful, because you don't know what way your wife or wives may translate that. You don't know how it may hurt their heart. So a lot of loving someone is having self-awareness and protecting the heart and soul of the wives. And we like to do the same thing. Like I always say, Coach Nazir's for big stuff. He's like that black card that you have that you could use, but you don't use it unless it's important. Now, that means that I'm very careful how I share information with him, right? So that means, okay, let's say there was a road rage incident and someone tried to just run me off the road. It's happened. Like where I'm from, some of the youth, like the 15, 16-year-old drivers, they don't care. They don't care. I'm a Midwest girl. I'm a Midwesterner. Live very close to Chicago. They don't care. Shout out to the ones that do. Run me off the road. Now, if I go, I'm like, you know what? These kids, sometimes they just whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. Do you know what? I had to get somebody together today. I don't go, oh my God, somebody tried to kill me. Because then what is that going to do? It's going to activate that other him. And he's just going to go into, that mode where he has to go find whoever and protect. And honey, and I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that. I wouldn't want to be the one receiving that. So I'm very careful about word placement. And I'm very careful to deliver information in a way that is appropriate. So if I'm hurt, I want to say I'm okay, but da. Another quick example. I was pregnant with our last child and I got sick. I don't even remember what really triggered it. I don't remember what triggered it, but I ended up in the ER And then they admitted me to the hospital. Coach Nazir at that time was out of the country. Okay. And they thought I had a pulmonary embolism, and I was pregnant. I was very pregnant, and he had to go. I was like, just go. I'll be fine. I had my family. I had, my grandma. I had everybody was around. So we were confident. I had had children before this. So I wasn't due any second, but I was visibly pregnant. Okay. I was like in my second trimester, like the end of it, something like that. And when I tell you, them people put me in the hospital and they were like, oh, I'm like, oh, my baby, what's going to happen? And then he's not here. It's that ENF, P in me. I started to panic a little bit, but I'm 007 with some of my panic. So I stayed calm because being too frantic would distress my child, and I didn't want to distress our baby. So I'm like, I'm going to have to call him. I'm going to have to tell him I'm in a hospital and he's not going to really, I'm like, he ain't going to really like that. So I call and I led with, I'm okay, but I wasn't feeling the best. So I went to the emergency room. They've admitted me to just monitor me. And he was like, well, why are they doing that? And I'm like, oh. And I was like, because they think I have a pulmonary embolism. And then he goes, do they know how serious that is? I told him, I said, yeah, they do. They do. I said, but they said, baby's fine. So this reassurance, but they're just watching me. Okay. It brings it down because why call and go, oh my God, they think I have a pulmonary baby and what's going to happen? Because then you try to put people in a position of, you think of what they can do for you in that moment. And I thought there's nothing he could do for me right now because he couldn't have got a flight out. They were monitoring me. My grandmother was a nurse, and I had a stepmother that was a nurse. And I'm surrounded by nurses and doctors. I went to nursing school, didn't want to finish. I'm like, ooh, I'm an artist, y'all, I'm an artist. But I listened when I was in school. And then I said, well, what can you give him? And it was reassurance. And he gave me some back. That's the time where we get closer to the Creator in those moments where we think that, what are we going to do? In those moments where we panic, we kind of pull ourselves back in, or we reel in the ones we love. And part of me, being afraid, knew that he was concerned and it was serious and anything could happen at any second. And we just reassured each other. Okay. But I had to be careful about word placement. So when our husbands are communicating with us, especially, they have to be careful about word placement, and we have to be careful not to dig so much, not to go off so much, not to investigate so much, not to spy for some that do that. Everybody doesn't do that. Everybody doesn't dig. Everybody doesn't search, but there are some that do. We got to talk about this thing. I had a really close friend of mine. She was like, he took her on the lake. He didn't take me. I said, how do you know that? And she goes, well, it's on his Facebook. And I looked in her Facebook and I'm like, see, you wouldn't even know that if you weren't nosy, if you weren't spying. And she laughed. I laughed. I said, now don't do it again. Please don't do it again. And we had a good laugh. I said, because you're hurting you. But when it comes from our husbands, or if they've overshared, Coach Nyla has been very good at not doing that. He's just not a motor mouth. He doesn't overshare. He doesn't gossip. He doesn't get in business that's not his. He's just not built that way. He does not entertain those things. If anything, he will not say one word. And I celebrate that. Now, if I ask him something, he's not going to lie to me. He's not going to lie. He's going to tell you. He's an INTJ. And any of you all that know an INTJ know to love them is to love them. Okay? They're going to give it to you straight. No chaser. Okay? They have to really be careful because everybody's not ready to hear everything. So in such a focused, direct way. And he's gotten awesome. Shout out to him. Awesome at, he's got a sword that's sharp. but he knows when to pull it out. So we don't get the sword, we don't get the super directness from him. He's just gentle. Polygyny is so awesome because I didn't think that it would make him more of a better husband. You know what I mean? But when you get tested with information, when you get tested with illness, when you get tested with finances, when you get tested with all the things that we're promised to be tested with, and you're in it for the work, you do better. So alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful that he's done his work. He's still doing his work, and he's learned to be very, very self-aware. And he's always been able to see like a big picture of things because he doesn't look at what's right in front of him. He looks at that and then everything around that, And that's great because he doesn't overshare stuff. He doesn't complain. He's not a complaining, complain around him if you want to is all I got to do. Just do that. Voicing concerns, saying, stating facts, what you observe, what you feel is happening is really good because then that gives the husband clarity. Setting boundaries is awesome. I've set several myself and it's really helped. And then some that I've set have been to my detriment. It just is what it is. And I learned from them. I took them lessons, took them L's and made them lessons, like I always say. But he's just been really good. And he's good at telling brothers, look, I don't know why you shared that. She didn't ask you. What's wrong? Don't you know that when you say that to your wife, you just lined yourself up because there's accountability that needs to be talked about. So brothers, I'm telling you, it's not your job to create drama between your wives. If that's what you're on, that's not what we on. It's not your job to overshare information that is not going to benefit her in any way, shape, or form. It's not your job to complain to one wife to the other about the other wife because it can create drama, it can create ill feelings, it can create jealousies, it can create so many different things. And maybe that wasn't your intention, but don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself and don't do it to them. This is what I've seen over the years from different communities that I've been in and visited, clients that I've had, lives that we've been a part of, literal Facebook, YouTube lives. And these things will come in the comments and these awesome questions because you guys are so great at asking these really hard, deep questions. But I'm here to answer them. The OPR team is here to answer a lot of those questions within YouTube and Facebook and sharing different videos. I want the husbands to win. I don't want them to lose. I don't want them to be at a loss because we know when there's a leadership issue, usually the leaders of the world are men, our husbands, our brothers, our fathers, our sons, and I want them to win. But I do want them to make sure they're practicing self-awareness and that they're not stirring the pot among the wives because brothers, it can happen, whether it's intentional or unintentional. You got to reel in that communication, make sure it's healthy, make sure it's clear. Make sure you're asking questions as well. A part of being in marriage and in polygyny is getting a lot of clarity because we're not living each other's lives. I'm in my body all the time. Coach Nazir cannot mentally nor physically get in this body. And I always tell my kids, I said he couldn't live my life because he'd be ready to jump off something if he was me. I'm so ridiculous. Laughing at myself and my creativity and the way I live my life as a wife and mother is much different than how he lives his life as a husband and as a father to many. So we're not to live the life of the other. We just learn from each other's experiences and we move forward and we forward think and not solo think. So I hope you guys got some gems from this video. I really wanted to talk about it because I know it's something that keeps coming up. It comes up a lot. And you know, we want to encourage good communication, healthy relationships, and do our work, you know. So I'm going to leave you guys with some GLC. Make sure you're following us on our socials. So on IG, we are Outstanding Relationships, and on Facebook and YouTube, we are Outstanding Personal Relationships. I am Coach Fatimah once again. I'm going to leave you with that GLC. I promise. Make sure you're growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Here are 3 ways outstanding personal relationships can help you.
Make sure you guys are following us on our social medias at Outstanding Personal Relationships on YouTube and Facebook, and on IG at Outstanding Relationships, and also Clubhouse under our names.
And make sure you go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com and sign up for our email list. And there you will get updates on our new book, Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored.
Absolutely. And last but not least, when it comes to coaching or counseling, if you want to work with us one-on-one or in group settings, make sure you're on that website and reach out to us, because we do have very limited spots and we usually have a wait list. So with that being said, GLC.
Make sure you are growing intentionally,
loving fearlessly,
and connecting on a higher level every single day. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.